Hi guys, welcome back to more episodes of the X-Files. We're on episode 10 of season 6 and we have pretty much got to episode 10 without there being even a hint of there being a subpar episode. I have enjoyed all of them so far. That last one in particular with the Skinner as well, that kind of ended open-ended, if you know what I mean. Came to a conclusion open-ended because we know it was cryogenic. We know it's technology that's not supposed to exist. It's still in Skinner's system, nervous system, in his bloodstream, and he has the capability of just switching it on and off. So he's kind of got Skinner at a well, more than a disadvantage. He's kind of got him at a whim. He can end his life at any point. So kind of compromised. It's going to come back to it. I know it is. I don't know if this episode's going to have anything to do with it or not. I have no idea. Anyway, let's just carry on. This is episode 10. Yeah, she wants to get off that floor pretty sharpish. It's going to hold the door, isn't he? There he goes. Oh. There goes the cable. Which apparently it doesn't. He's just going to wait at the bottom, isn't he, for it to arrive. You might not want to stand too close to it. Oh. Well, that's kind of a morbid obsession and hobby.
Hey, Scully, maybe if we get really lucky next time, they'll let us clean toilet bowls.
You ready to quit?
No.
That's what they want you to do.
People way too happy.
Dana Scully. It's Agent Peyton Ritter with the Bureau's New York office.
Scanning old crime scene photographs into the computer, I came across this.
Margarita Stoller, age 57, cause of death, an overdose of nitrous. A neighbor called the police at 11:14 p.m.
So, what's wrong with that picture?
Clock says that it's 45 minutes earlier. Now, a clock can be wrong.
They certainly can. So, I checked the post from the following day. These are straight from their photo files.
Almost an hour and a half later.
It's not that
Two different
picture.
negatives, same photographer. Patent for
Oh,
years.
he's made a mistake.
Stringer for the wire services. And
Okay, I was wondering what have brought this guy from New York to have picked up on this, but he's clearly picked up on it. So he's a decent detective. He spotted it straight away. This is what this guy does. So he is actually a photographer. On an official capacity, not just, I was wondering if it was just like a hobby or he was documenting stuff for himself. So this woman's died. He's took a picture because he knew she was going to die. He's turned up there, took a picture, and somehow that one picture's ended up in the police files of him coming back later as the police photographer, and the clock's out and he's spotted it.
what if he poisons this woman, then gets his jollies by snapping a few of her dead body, then
That
winds
would
up
make
back
more
in the
sense
same
than what's
apartment
actually
an hour
happening.
later, after Midtown North calls him over to do the job.
There's no consistent MO.
Yeah.
There's no consistent anything.
There's only one thing that's consistent. The
I sure
photographs.
use your help.
I get why Kersh is allowing her on this one, because at first glance that would not appear to be an X-File, but from what we're seeing of it as the viewer, it probably is. But this guy's going to have to be incredibly careful, because this could start looking like you are faking crime scene pictures before they're actually reported or discovered, and then you're brought in on it. You could be seen as the killer. Maybe not if it's one like a heart attack or anything, but it's gotten notice enough.
With your expertise in forensic pathology, you would be a substantial asset to this investigation. I know it'd provide more challenge to you than running background checks.
That's how he identifies. See? It's like... it's symbolic, but... yeah, is this going to be another heart attack one? I mean... he just stands there. He's so weird. You need to stop snapping pictures until they call you out, dude. Is he trying to understand? he trying to understand death? Is he trying to photograph it? Or there are wild theories as to how when someone dies, that if you add up all of the components of what makes a human body, there is a discrepancy that's left. I've seen it mentioned before. It was even in Breaking Bad, actually, when it shows the flashback of Walter White and him going through all the different chemical elements of what makes up a human body. And there's a certain percentage, it's only a very small percentage that you can't account for. And she comes up and says, what about the soul?
What's the tell? He's one of about 10,000 people in town who have an official license to piss people off.
I sometimes doubles as a crime scene photographer for your precinct.
I mean, I'm presuming you just do
Yearly
like a
renewal
standard
dating back to
background check.
January 1970, but still no original.
I think I've got it.
Wow. How far back have you got to go?
1964.
Old timer.
He looks the same on every picture. He is not aging.
87, 85, 73.
He's exactly the same.
Other than the fact that this guy's always been a geezer, this is looking like a dead end.
No. I'm sorry. That would spark my curiosity more than anything. How can a man from 1964, in what currently is, what year are we on in this? About 99. So 35 years and he's barely aged. I mean, I know you get to a certain point where once you're middle age, if you particularly look after yourself and it just happens to be in your genes, especially if like you lose your hair and you get wrinkles quite early on in your 30s and 40s, you can look at pictures of people who are late 60s, maybe even in early 70s. They've only got a few extra lines. They don't look an awful lot different. He looks precisely the same.
Positive match right off his 1964 background check. I took the liberty of slipping them into the safest database.
Also, the other guy's blood on it.
Boom, up they came. A whole lot of blood.
Yeah, I got that.
They found your boy.
Fellig where?
Home watching TV. They're bringing him in now.
Initial interview with Alfred Fellig.
I bet you this won't be the first time he's ended up in an interview room being questioned on this.
You're around death a lot. It must fascinate you. I want to know how you always happen to be Johnny on the spot every time somebody dies. You're always there to take the picture. How does that happen?
I have a nose for news. Saw some jabron stealing a kid's tennis shoes. He chased me, ran off.
Your fingerprints were found on the knife.
Why would you pick the
How
knife
did
up?
you get there? Were you injured, Mr. Fellig?
You know you'd be prime suspect if he did that.
You seem to be in pain.
I got cut some.
May we see?
Oh, it is. It is. Scully will know that that is not normal.
Hey, take Mr. Fellig and get his blood drawn. You photograph his back, too.
Yeah,
I thought we were trying to bust this guy, not look for reasons to let him go.
well,
I thought we were looking for the truth.
yeah. Looking for the truth, as she puts it, isn't just always based on scientific fact now. Her mind has become... She's not as ready to take quite as many flights as fancy as Mulder is and go to the extremes and look for sometimes things that aren't there or sometimes things that are there. But she is more open to suggestion and thinking outside of the box when you get things like this that just don't seem to make sense. She knows as a pathologist that, and a doctor that is five very serious, deep stab wounds, and that guy should not be walking around. So this guy just wants it tied up quickly. I mean, he's a fairly good detective. He spotted the photograph thing straight away. But there's going to be a point here where he's going to pull away from her, as he's just doing now, because he thinks this is just about putting this guy away because he thinks it's him. This guy's already going to the dark side of Mulder's psyche and going, there's more to this.
You can't hold him? What about the stabbing?
How do you know about that?
I told you I'm nosy.
At least that bit particular story, anyway.
He
You
didn't
still
care.
think Fellig's a murderer, huh?
I don't know what to think.
No.
Mulder, where are you getting this stuff?
Well, young man Ritter's been sending progress reports to Kersh.
My computer may have inadvertently intercepted a few of those.
He's got
Oh, really?
nice things to say about you, though.
You took that photo an hour before police
Ask him.
arrived. You then purposely covered up that fact by photographing the scene again.
I don't think I remember that one.
Well, then explain yourself, sir. Because I promise you, until you do, you will not get a moment's peace.
You come with me. I'll show you.
There's always going to be someone gets murdered at some point. And it looks like it's going to be a hooker.
What's happening in the next minute, in the next hour, but it'll happen. It's as plain as day.
Fellig, I don't know what you're planning, but nobody here's gonna die.
I think you're wrong.
Planning anything. Just here to tell you what's gonna happen.
She has to intervene, you know that. It's probably not even him. It's some dick looking for a fucking freebie Copperfield. Just gonna stop it.
Where'd you come from? Shut up!
Why do you care?
Get down!
Stop hassling her.
Back up! You all right? I'm out of here.
It was always meant to happen that way. How in the life are you meant to explain what the hell just happened? That's like time travel stuff, isn't it? Where you're like, that could be seen as that you pressured him into answering how he can do this, how he knows this, and he's offered to just take you out and show you. And what appeared to be the person that you pointed out is going to die pretty soon, within the next few hours, a day or so. As soon as you see her being hassled by him, the fact you get out the car and you go and do what you did leads her to go, I'm out of here, and not look at the car, at the truck that was coming. So had Scully not been there, would he have seen her in black and white? Was it still her time? Is it like Final Destination time where the universe has a way of, I sound like I'm watching Lost now, of course correcting? If it's your time, it's your time. If it was always meant to be the day you're meant to die, you will die. Whichever way. No matter how many times you try and save him, if it's an accident, it's still going to happen.
So, wait. You blew off the surveillance and what? Took a little joyride with them?
I confronted Fellig. Look, if New York passes a Good Samaritan law, we might be able to nail him on that. But other than that, I doubt we're going to get him.
You've got nothing on him.
Wrong. Let me show you something. I picked up Mr. Wiggins last night. Now, he says that it was Fellig who killed that kid in the alley, not him.
Yeah,
he said he just
right.
happened along and he had to fight for his life. Fellig is a murderer.
No.
Whether or not he did this specific one, I don't care. Not if it buys me a few days in the box with him. You muck up my case, and Kersh will hear about it. Are we clear, Dana?
Alfred Fellig doesn't exist before 1964, but one Henry Strand does. He applied for a press pass from the Jersey City Police in 1939 at the age of 53. His prints match Fellig's.
This is
Want to know when
nuts.
Ellie Rice's birthday is? April 4th, 1849. I'm not good at math, but I'm figuring that's a whole lot of candles on the cake.
Yeah, but Scotty, you've just looked at his photographs back from the records from 35, nearly 40 years ago, and he looked exactly the same then. What happened to this guy for him to learn or figure out that he doesn't die? On top of the gift that he appears to have of being able to pinpoint and point out people's last moments. Was he born this way? Did something happen to him? Did he make an arrangement with some sort of demon or what? I don't know.
Now, we're talking about a guy for whom the phrase life in prison carries some seriously weighty connotations.
Yes, it would.
Get to him before he vanishes and becomes someone else.
You are going to be arrested, Mr. Fellig, in 2 hours. Charged with murder. And this time you won't be able to just change your name.
What, do you want me to cry for them? You want me to make like I feel sorry for them? I don't. I'm just there to get the shot. I don't take those people. He does.
Who's he? Do we really need to say it?
That's him. He's the one who takes them.
You're saying that this is a photograph of death itself?
It's a glimpse. Just a glimpse.
That you know more about photography than I do. But this is just a lens flare.
You're right. I do know more about photography than you do.
For the sake of argument, why bother?
So I can look into his face. So I can die.
Work.
Razors, gas,
yeah.
Bridges. I can't tell you how many bridges I've jumped off. All getting wet. I don't want to be here anymore. I can't even remember a time when I did. This
sounds quite sad.
This is all I know. You chase it long enough, you pick it up.
Yeah. Black and white.
Strand and Rice?
Yeah, Henry Strand and L.H. Rice.
What about Louis Brady?
No, but there's like a big gap before 1939.
Oh. There we go, FBI archives. Gonna find him, are you? Felon. Brady. Double murder.
You can find her for me.
Listen, Agent Mulder, I'm on my way to arrest Alfred Fellig.
He says he meant to catch up with death. 1 year into his prison sentence, he walked off a work detail. The manhunt never officially ceased.
When was this?
1929.
Whoa, when?
Take my word for it. You live forever. Sooner or later, you start to think about the big thing you're missing and that everybody else gets to find out about, but you. 40 years ago, I drove down to the city hall, down to the Hall of Records. 75 years, if you're lucky. You don't want to be around when it's gone.
Give me something in the way of proof. Help me find some science that I can hang this on.
Don't think
It has nothing to do with science. Just saw him out of the corner of my eye. Then he got bolder and he'd start flitting around the room and he'd take this person and he'd take that person. You're very lucky, you know that?
What do you mean?
Because you're next.
You want me to believe that I'm about to die?
I just want to take the picture.
Turn it off right now. Put it down.
There's nothing to be done for it.
Hopefully he'll take him instead of Scully this time.
Here.
I'm guessing that's the only way she survives. That's Mulder, isn't it? Or is it the other cop? Oh! Oh no, that didn't go right through, did it? Oh, come on!
Damn it.
It went through the camera lens, through him, and into Scully as well. How? Take her place. Just be with a smartphone now, wouldn't it?
Did you see him?
This is weird. You've just gone black and white. I saw his hand change. Yeah. You took a place.
Coroner's report came back on Fellig. Says he died of a single gunshot wound. That's all it said. Talked to your doctor, and he says you're doing great. You're making the fastest recovery he's ever seen.
People don't live forever.
No, I think he would have. Once you seek its opposite.
That was weird. These episodes are so good. Okay, episode 10. Another great episode. I mean, it was an episode that you could easily figure out, but it kind of spoon-fed it to you anyway. Especially, you know, early on, we already got to see the records room of the FBI, and you could see going back to like the 80s, then the 70s, then the 60s, and it's just the same shot, but just in black and white. There was something nefarious going on. So his reason, I like that we got just a little bit of a background from him before he died as to his reasoning behind why he was this way. He didn't ask for it. He wasn't born different. He didn't make a deal with anything. As far as he's concerned, death overlooked him because he closed his eyes and turned his head away at that point when he had yellow fever all those years ago, and it was the nurse that he took instead. And ever since that point, that's what he's been chasing. But I think he's right with what he said, you know, like love. He doesn't even remember his wife's name. I think it is. I don't think love does last forever if you're somebody that lasts forever. Because eventually they age, they move on, they die. You become. I think it's a lonely existence, and he'd had enough already. He was trying to recreate that moment that he originally had in that hospital bed all those years ago. And in the end, when we saw Scully pop up in his visual acuity as being the next person to expire, I was like, well, you're going to throw the whole thing out of whack here if she doesn't die, because then that means every person he's ever met that he knows is going to die has, but you. That's a bit convenient for the storyline and for our main character. But they did it in such a way where it's him that's taken what was supposed to be her, that he's taken the out by finally looking. It was a great episode. I loved it. I don't really think we need to go into it much more than that. I thought the detective was okay, but in the end, as soon as it started going down what would be classed as the paranormal side of things, which is what Scully is becoming a little bit more open to, he just went off on a tangent because he's like, don't mess my case up. I found out about what you and your partner normally do if you start going down this route where everything's an X-file. You're like, no, not everything's an X-file, but there are ones that are. And you've seen enough in this that none of it makes sense. Even Mulder saying to him at the end there, look, forget about the math. Yeah, it was 1920 something when he was done for double murder. Just go stop him. That was brilliant. Right, we'll be back for episode 11 next, which I have already noted looks like it's going to be another two-parter, so be ready and prepared for that. Don't forget, if you want to watch in full length, as usual, check the links in the description. We'll give you a link to go over to and watch it over on Patreon, and all the subscribe stuff down here. If you haven't already subscribed, I would appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up. I will see you for episode 11, part 1 of 2, I believe, next time. Take care.